Hello, I'm Pam.
And I'm John.
We're not done yet.
Y'all know we're not done yet.
And we're back. We have clothes on, we're back. And we're going to read a couple poems today and talk about them and what we know. John knows a lot of good stuff about poets, so he's going to tell us what he remembers. And the poems that I'm going to read a poem and then share a poem and talk about what impact they had in my life. So, you want to go first?
Oh, sure. Shall I just start reading here and read the poem? Okay. The poem I'm going to read is Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night by Dylan Thomas, who's a Welsh poet who spent a lot of his later years in New York. Spent a lot of time in bars in the evening, the same bar, actually. He had a real problem with alcohol. But his poetry is very good, and he's also wrote a special famous Christmas story that they used to read all the time once a year on public radio. Who used to read that, did I say?
Truman Capote.
Truman Capote used to read it. He did a great job. Anyway, this is Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night. And it's dedicated to his father, who was terminally ill at the time that he wrote it. And here goes. Do not go gentle into that good night. Old age should burn and rave at close of day. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. Though wise men at their end know dark is right, because their words had forked no lightning, they do not go gentle into that good night. Good men, the last wave by, crying how bright their frail deeds might have danced in the green bay, rage, rage against the dying of the light. Wild men who caught and sang the sun in flight and learned too late they grieved it on its way. Do not go gentle into that good night. Grave men near death who see with blinding sight. Blind eyes could blaze like meteors and be gay. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. And you, my father, there on that sad height, curse, bless me now with your fierce tears. I pray, do not go gentle into that good night. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. Not sure what year that was written, but Dylan Thomas lived a rather short life. He was born in Wales in 1914 and died, I believe, in New York City in 1953. He was a serious alcoholic at the end, and used to spend a lot of his times at a particular bar in New York City almost every night, and he'd sit on the same stool and recite poetry and other things he was thinking about, and sometimes he'd have to be carried out of there and carried home. But he was a brilliant man, and he only lived to be 41, I guess, 40 or 41 years old. So that's it.
What was that? And then you said there was another poem that you weren't going to read, but that means a lot to you.
Oh, well, one of my favorite titles for a poem.
Oh, yeah.
Is
how could I forget this?
Yeah, it's called "The Emperor of Ice Cream," and that's by Wallace Stevens, who was a famous United States poet especially in the first half of the 20th century. He died in 1951, I believe. And he was one of the top, probably 5 poets in this country during that time period. He's kind of a contemporary of Robert Frost. His poems were, I like reading his poems, but they're not poems that you can get a real message out of or anything. They're what I would call kind of abstract poems, and they're a little. If you try to understand them and get a particular message that he's trying to convey, it's not going to work. It's kind of like looking at an abstract painting, and if the painter were there and you were saying, "What does that painting mean?" I don't understand it. I've looked at it from different directions. And the painter would probably say, well, it doesn't do me any good to tell you what it means to me. It's what it means to you based on your experience in life. And so it's a little more work to analyze an abstract painting or an abstract poem for that matter, because it's kind of what it means to you based on your experience and knowledge. And that's why I didn't recite the Wallace Stevens one, because it's a little too obscure.
Yeah. He read it to me earlier, and I would have to listen really hard and think really long to figure out what it was about.
Yeah. But I love the title.
It's a wonderful title.
And he doesn't talk much about the emperor or about ice cream.
No, which
poem.
is unfortunate.
So
I like both those things,
yeah.
especially the ice cream.
Yeah. So okay, Pam, you want to do yours?
Yeah. Well, my poem is Ozymandias by Percy Blythe Shelley, who lived 1792 to 1822, so a little longer than Dylan Thomas.
Yeah.
And the thing I remember about this poem, and it sticks in my mind, although I had completely forgotten the poem itself, was the way my English teacher taught the poem. And that's what's really impacted me, I think, a lot in my life. He was a very brave teacher. He not only stood on his desk with his feet apart when he read this poem to our class. At one point, I think in my senior year, he actually took out a full page of little tiny type print to say everything that was wrong with where we lived and who some of the students were. There were a lot of wealthy students, and then there were people like me. But it was a huge deal. It was on the TV, huge, because he said, the kids drive better cars than I do. He was raging at them, at the community that he was working in. And so he was an amazing person. And I have been known to do things like standing on a desk or crawling under a table.
Wow. I missed that, Pammy. I didn't realize that.
No, and some of it I think I get from one of my grandmothers, but the rest of it I think I get from this teacher, high school English teacher. Anyway, here's the poem. I met a traveler from an antique land who said, "Too vast and trunkless," I can't see it with or without my glasses, who said, "Two vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. Near them, on the sand, half sunk, a shattered visage lies, whose frown and wrinkled lip and sneer of cold command tell that its sculptor well those passions read, which yet survive stamped on these lifeless things. The hand that mocked them and the heart that fed, and on the pedestal these words appear. My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. Nothing beside remains. Round the decay of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away." And I do like the poem a lot. I didn't remember it till I saw it and read it recently again. And it's really has a message, I think, for anyone, young or old, that you need to think about what will remain, and it won't be a lot. It'll be those words on the tombstone, perhaps, or maybe some other living thing that you leave, like a book or a story. But we need to live our lives fully. We need to rage against the dying of the night for sure, because that shows life, and that's what we've got, and we're going to live it to the end, huh?
Yeah, you got to keep the light going as long as you can.
Yeah, for sure. And then one of the other poems that really means a lot to me is How Do I Love Thee by Emily Dickinson. And I think it's because I love it so much because it spoke to me the first time I was truly in love and partnered with someone, and it just captured all the feelings that I had. I was full up with love and amazement at the relationship, and that poem was very powerful to me and is treasured to this day. So
it sounds like it. Emily Dickinson is an amazing story. I mean, she's one of the greatest American poets and a great poet.
yeah.
But she hardly ever left her house.
Isn't that
She never married, had a family or anything, and composed all her poems. A lot of them just sitting in the room looking out the window, and she's written some of the most beautiful poems ever, I think. And hers are accessible. They're pretty concrete and easy to understand for the most part. And I like her a lot too. But it's funny you mentioned your English teacher, because I was a terrible student in high school. I barely graduated. I didn't go to class a lot. And I got stuck in a poetry class in 11th grade because there weren't enough people who wanted to be in that class. And everyone wanted to be in journalism, or I think drama was the other one. So there were three options. My last option, like almost everybody else's, was poetry. But I think they figured because I was such a bad student that I wouldn't really matter if I got in the ones I liked. So they put me in the poetry class. And people were warning me about the teacher. Her name was Miss Nelson, Clara Nelson. And some people they told me, you're not going to like her. She's a hard teacher. And so I ended up in her class. And I can remember the first day of class because she's got flaming red hair and a lot of rouge on her cheeks and bright red lipstick. And she's getting ready to retire, so she must have been in her 60s at that time. And she was unusual looking in the way she dressed and everything. And I just thought she was spectacular. She was so interesting. She had never married, and so she spent a lot of her life traveling around the world and around the United States. She was a private tutor for some very wealthy families out in Hyannisport. Might have been the Kennedy family, which didn't mean much to me at the time. This was back in the 50s. But anyway, she was a wonderful teacher and got me interested in poetry, which I didn't have interest in anything, and especially poetry, but we had to read 50 poems during the year and memorize them. And then come up and sit beside her at a chair at her desk and recite the poems one at a time, one day at a time. And I really started liking poetry, and I exceeded the requirement. And I had barely ever gotten C's in high school, mostly D's. And I got B's, throughout her whole year because I just loved the discovery of poetry for me and her presentation of it all. So she was by far the best teacher I ever had in high school. Unfortunately, she retired the year after I had her. And so I have younger siblings, but none of them ever got the chance to be in her class. So anyway, that's how I began my love of poetry. So
that's a great,
similar to your story.
And it's really suggests, I mean, here we are old and who do we remember? And I surely say that in terms of my K through 12, his name was Douglas Sarf. I mean, obviously I can see now how much he impacted my life with those two things, Ozymandias and calling out
standing on the top of his desk, that's incredible. None of my teachers ever did that.
Well, taking out a page in the local paper, and I'm saying it wasn't a couple of lines, it was every bit of the page was full. If I was tougher, I'd read the whole thing right now, but it would take a magnifying glass.
He was unique.
I still have it, though.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, this has been fun.
Yeah, it's been fun for me, and it was kind of nice to revisit poetry. I'd kind of forgot about it for years, and I unfortunately I had a lot of books on poetry. Some of them translated from French. I like the French I forget the movement, but it coincided with an art movement, painting movement, in the late 1800s. I can't remember the name of it. But anyway, so there's a group of poets and a group of painters who are all under this umbrella, and the poetry is quite good. But I liked a lot of poetry. So it served me well throughout my life. So.
Oh, you didn't tell the story about when you were in that singing class.
Oh, yeah. When I was in college, I took a lot of elective classes. Thus, it took me many, many years to finally get my degree. But one of them was singing for non-singers. And I've always thought I had a horrible, horrible singing voice. And no one has really, over most of my years, objected to that self-analysis, or requested that I sing.
I like you to sing.
Yeah. So I took this class, and I'll tell you, it was a struggle for me. I was so self-conscious. And, the theory was that anyone can sing. Well, at the end of the class, we had to do a final project. And the suggested final was to pick a song and sing it in front of the class, in front of the teacher. Well, I just couldn't do that. I mean, I wouldn't do it. And so I got permission from her to read this poem, "Do Not Go Gentle in That Good Night." So that was my final project for my singing for non-singers class, and I passed.
Well, you get to sing here.
I think my singing is a little better than it used to be. I think so.
I don't know, because I didn't know you then. Do you want to sing a song? I know you do.
My mind has gone blank.
Okay. Well, let's just say goodbye then.
Goodbye then.
Goodbye then. Thanks for watching.